I'm Mike Dimas, and this is Pinball Shenanigans. Hey, what's going on, boys and girls in Shenaniganderland? I'm back in the basement, and I'll give you a brief update of what has been going on in the old games room. Last time or two I've been down here, it was just doing some tweaks on my own stuff. Had some of the boys and girls over a couple weekends ago and had all the machines on all night. So it was a good stress test. And found several issues. And the last couple times I've been down here, I've been just kind of working on those and trying to resolve as many as I could before I bring a new project into the mix. So that's what I've been doing lately. There's been a couple issues that have been nagging, like these two targets. We'll talk about that later. And some new issues. So I made some cheat notes here to see if I can remember everything that I did. But I thought it'd be fun just to kind of like go over some of the issues and some of the solutions and some of the non-solutions, because I haven't solved everything yet. But fishtails, I don't know, 2 months ago it did reset on me once, which is the first time that happened since I shopped it up a couple years ago. And there's a few steps you can take. Resets are, it could be so many things, and they're always, you just never know what it is. But the first thing you do is you reseat a few connectors. I believe it's J101 and the one beside it, and then power going to the CPU from the driver board. This is all documented very well on PinWiki, and I'd show you, but my computer is updating right now. But anyway, I reseated those connectors on and off a few times, knock off the old crust and dust, and the machine hasn't reset since. So the last little mini tournament I had, it survived the whole night, so that's good. But in the meanwhile, my right flipper started getting sticky, and then I noticed there was a credit dot which shows up at the end of the word free play. If you see a little dot there or there, the end of that free play, then that's your tech alert letting you know that there's an issue. And I checked the tech alert. It just said the extra ball switch right here, that yellow one, said that it just hadn't been hit in so many games. So I played a test game and it went away, so I must have hit it, and easy breezy. The issue with the flipper, strangely, it was just not returning very well. I rebuilt these flippers a couple years ago when I shopped up the whole machine. But so what I did was, I should actually have read my cheat notes before, because I almost forgot. The first thing I noticed is that the coil on this flipper was missing one of the two diodes. And I looked at the coil nice and closely to make sure that, was there actually a second diode on there, because it was kind of hard to tell. But so I started desoldering it, and sure enough, I found a piece of diode. Oh no, I just knocked over all my coils, but I believe this is it. Is this the one? So let's zoom in here. I'm pretty sure this is the one. I soldered in another diode and made it beautiful. I'm not actually convinced that that is the coil. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, this looks more freshly soldered. So there we go. That diode there was missing completely. And I don't know why that didn't cause me any issues at all, ever, because it never did end up being an issue. But so I've got this coil for next time. It's fine. Found a new coil, and so I installed a new coil, new used, and a new sleeve, and that did nothing. So what I found it to be was that the crank and the flipper bat just needed to be realigned. Probably could have actually documented some of this. It would have been maybe a little more interesting, but I was just plugging away and trying to get crap done. But you know, this crank here, I just needed to loosen it off and basically push the flipper bat down into it a little bit more. So it was an alignment issue. Once I did that, it works like a charm now. It's kind of weird that that alignment issue only showed up after a couple of years, right? Like, why did it work perfectly for so long? And I kind of could feel the left flipper feels like it's following in the same path of this guy here. And I might need to do the same thing one day. But right now, it's flipping good. Both flippers are happy. Extra ball target's happy. And it has not reset on me in a couple months. So I think that was it. Oh yeah, I cleaned it up a little bit. Just, you know, flipper bats and rubbers and some ball trail. So gave it a little bit of a cleaning, and that's fishtails. All right, what happened with Funhouse? Okay, so this was kind of slightly annoying. For the first time ever, Funhouse reset. Good old WPC, right? They're notorious for that. So I was not pleased that that happened, but I did the thing, reseated those connectors, very same as Fishtails, I believe, and played a couple test games. So time will only tell on that one, but yeah, you're just gonna reseat them and kind of clean off the pins, male and female, and if that doesn't work, then you got to go on to obviously step 2, but so far step 1 has worked. I think for the most part, what else? Played a test game or 2, and yeah, it was fine. I think, yeah, my last score there is 14 million, so I mean, that was a fairly long game for a Funhouse, and that was a good stress test, and nothing happened on Funhouse, so it is so far so good. Okay, Whirlwind. What was my issue with Whirlwind? Oh, the pin side told me that it was time to change my battery. So I checked on it, and I have the like cell battery button battery style installed on there. So I have long ago done away with the triple or double A's. So I looked at it, it looks fine. I didn't pull it out and measure the voltage, but you know, it's keeping scores, so it's fine. So I checked on the battery, and this upper flipper, I've seen it stick a little bit before from time to time. So I thought I'd play a game and just, you know, keep an eye on it. Also wanted to see if I need to make any adjustments, because these whirlwind side ramp shots are friggin', some are easy to make and some are impossible to make. Mine's somewhere in between. So during my game, I actually hit that side ramp like 3 times. So I was happy with that. So I just kind of let that be for now. Anything else? Nope. So Whirlwind, it's off my radar for now. Mandalorian, I turned that on, but it'll take like 10 minutes. New code, 1.4 code. Oh yeah, you'll love this. Might as well turn it on, why not? So Mandalorian 1.3 code came out to address the issue of the Spike games resetting. All of the Spike games were resetting, crashing. So the 1.3 code came out to resolve that. Since I installed the 1.3 code, the machine didn't reset. Not throughout the whole 1 or 2 tournaments that I played it on. So I installed the 1.4 code. There it is. And I opened the coin door to adjust a setting. I forget what it was going to be. Turn on or off extra balls or something. And as soon as I opened the coin door, the display froze, and sure enough, it crashed and reset on me. So isn't that nice? But 2 weeks ago when I had a little mini funsy tournament and had this on all night, it actually survived without resetting. So far so good. It's basically off my radar until it resets on me again. Johnny Mnemonic. I wasn't really planning on going around and turning on every machine, but hey, why not? I thought this was going to be a 10-minute video. It might be a little longer, especially Johnny Mnemonic, because JM equals good. No issues with Johnny. I did play a game. Someone came over. I wish I remember his name. He's a fellow shenanigander. It might come to me, but he came by to grab my old electroplastics, and I was showing him the collection and giving him the tour, and he was kind of toying with the idea of buying a Johnny Mnemonic, and we played a game, and yeah, so that's the latest update on Johnny Mnemonic. If I remember your name, shout out to you. It was a pleasure meeting you, and yeah, hopefully those electroplastics will help shop up yours. Okay, then we move on to night moves, okay? Where this power switch is way back here. I do not, you know what, I've had this game for like 7 years or something. Very rarely had an issue on it. Actually, my tournament, not 2 weeks ago, but the one before that, the machine did lock up on me, I think just once. And it's been fine ever since. So it's kind of off the radar, but Pinside tells me that I do need to check on my battery, which I do have, I believe, a button battery in there, or a memory cap. Let's see if we can find it. Let's see what it looks like. Where are you? Oh, there it is. I got an off-board battery pack. Okay, so let's take a peek here and see if we can see any obvious corrosion or anything. I don't see anything. So I'll leave this door open and I'll take a better look. Maybe even pull out the batteries or turn it off and measure the voltage and see if I'm getting some good voltage there. But yeah, I kind of forgot I had the original manual, which is kind of sweet. Oh, and these are all the rubbers I removed from the out lanes to make it deadly. People do not love playing night moves in tournament here because out lanes are deadly. Rubbers removed from that center post and these guys as well. But this is one of the best cocktail machines out there, in my opinion. I haven't played a lot of them, but this one, awesome, solid Gottlieb multi-ball, solid state, System 80 action. All right. Let's go to the back, because why not? Tag team. Okay, this one is annoying. Every once in a while, when you lock a ball, it's supposed to kick a ball out into the shooter lane to fire up your next ball. And over the last 6 months, every once in a while, it won't kick the ball out into the shooter lane. But if you manually take it out and put it in the shooter lane, you can proceed as normal, okay? So you're thinking, oh, check the switch, right? It happens on this switch and this switch. So I put it in switch test. I test both switches very thoroughly and they work perfectly. So the next thought, right, is trough switches. I'm pretty sure I checked the trough switches thoroughly. Maybe I didn't, maybe that's my problem, but I did send out my CPU for repair just in case, and had it like serviced and inspected and a daughter board upgraded, and thought that my problem would go away, but it did not. It reared its ugly head again in my last tournament. So this is still on the to-do list. I need to, the next thing is going to be, yeah, really thoroughly checking the trough switches. So there's that. Hey, I didn't turn you on. Might as well keep the trend alive. Oh, we're gonna have to bypass that. There we go. Okay, tag team. Not resolved. Another machine that's not resolved is Xenon. Everything works perfectly except for the sound. If you've been following along, you've been hearing about my sound woes. I've got 2 different soundboards, both shopped up by my guy, both working perfectly on his end, both crashing here on my end. So I've made a post about this on Pinball Repair Help Group. Hey, I'm gonna turn you on. And really, like, I've done other things. I've repinned connectors. I think I've like taken apart and cleaned this pot. It's a volume pot. So I've tried some things. What I haven't tried yet is like bypassing these two. There's two speakers at the back, and I'm gonna maybe cut them both out of the equation and add a single speaker just to see. I can rule out both speakers if either are the issue. So I have heard that the two speakers originally were both 4 ohm to equal 8 ohms total, which is your standard. But I have also found photos online on Pinside that show two speakers that are 8 ohm. That's what I have, 2 8 ohm speakers. And the ones online are identical looking to mine, so they look factory. It was suggested by Alan Reisman, shout out, that the two speakers that are in there now are both replacements, and they're supposed to be 2 4 ohm speakers. But I'm finding a bit of counter-inflicting information on the interwebs on Pinside that show those exact same speakers, 2 8 ohms, same brand, same look, same everything, in another machine. So I am going to probably just cut them both out and throw in another speaker and see what happens. There's not a lot left that could be the issue, so speakers are highly suspect at this point, and that is probably what I'll do tonight. That'll be one of the things I do. Electra. Okay. Mystic used to be in this spot. I've moved that over to my storage unit, and Electra got its first play test at my tournament, Funsy tournament night a couple weeks ago, and for the most part, like, this thing works great. I had 0 issues. Of course, you know, they still got the little bow in the playfield. I haven't done anything about that and don't plan on it. But the main issue is that it is friggin' tough. It's a brutal beast. So I undid the thing that I did, which was, if you've been following along on my Electra rebuild, this one-way gate right here, I removed it so you could come up and down this ramp. But I added it back in there to make it a little more achievable to hit these targets and start multi-ball and do anything. I did that after the tournament, unfortunately. And the other thing I did was to add my rubber post back here to give you a little bit of a chance at recovery from a straight down the middle shot. So that's literally all I had to do to Xenon, just to make it a little less deadly. Alright, so let's go over to the other side. Dracula. I'm happy to say that it held up all night long. I have a new home pin opto board in the machine to replace this one that was bad, and it held up all night. I had no missed issues whatsoever. I think I did have only one issue where the ball was staged in the left side, and it got knocked out of the staging area, so there was a fake 2-ball multi-ball. That was not a big deal though. Once the one ball drained it and we turned it on and off, we reset it up and it restaged itself and all was happy. So Dracula held up, no issues, and this board has been replaced, so I can stick that back in if I want, but I'll just leave it there for now. Dracula is good. Lord of the Rings. I do have 1 or 2 very intermittent issues. One is with the, I guess you could call it the Gimli switch, the saucer there. Every once in a blue moon, a ball goes in there and doesn't kick out right away, and you either need to jiggle the machine or wait till ball search kicks in, and then next time you get it in there, it works perfectly. So it just hasn't happened in so long, I haven't bothered adjusting that switch. And then I believe there's one other switch that's intermittent. It might be this guy on this wire form here. I have notes somewhere, but really, there's no issues to speak of with Lord of the Rings. I've got notes on top of notes on top of notes, but let's see, Lord of the Rings saucer switch and the shooter lane switch is the other one. Okay, so I have to keep my eye on that. But really, those are so rarely rearing their head that it's very low on the radar. Okay, white water. The biggest issue I've had with white water, and pretty much only issue, actually I think it did reset once on me since I shopped it up. And other than that, the only other issue I've had is these two green targets. I've fought with these a lot because initially I tried to install the mantis protectors on these ramps. I'll show you what those look like. These big hunking pieces of metal. Okay, one goes in front of one ramp, one goes in front of the other ramp to protect them from any further damage. But at the same time, I have like cliffy protectors on the sides too, so the mantis protectors were kind of acting mostly as cosmetics. They're just kind of covering up that area right there where you can see the old damage. So they were more cosmetic than anything else and prevent future damage. But the problem is I couldn't get my switches to register consistently, and part of the reason for that I found when I removed one switch to check it out. I've tried to adjust and tweak those switches multiple times, and I can never get them to a point where I'm happy with them, because you literally can barely register the left switch. The right one was a little more forgiving, but the back of the switch, like this part here, was literally like bent into almost like a banana shape. It was, so this switch was getting hit into the mantis protector, so the top half was bending forward, but the bottom half couldn't go anywhere, so it kind of bent forward and on some weird angles. So the switch itself, the backing was kind of mangled. So what I was going to do is remove the mantis protectors and then install these. I got these switch, no, this is not where they'll be. It's like backings. They're beefy versions right here. See these switch backings? Sorry, the Electra is making noise over there. But see how it's got that L shape there? Well, I took apart the one switch, installed this L on it. It's extra beefy. It's not going to bend. But guess what? That extra thickness didn't allow me to put the switch into the friggin' switch opening even after removing the mantis. So I had to take the switch apart, put back on the original back, and flatten it out, of course. So I struggled with that multiple times over the course of since I've shopped it up. But I was hesitant to remove the mantis protectors. I just didn't sure that I wanted that to be the solution. But I think, well, I was watching Hep's restoration of his whitewater, and if you haven't seen Hep High-End Pinball YouTube channel, you should check it out. It's awesome. He just did a whitewater, and it was pretty fascinating to watch. A lot of finaglement going on with these thicker ramps, the reproduction ones. But I don't think he used mantis protectors. I didn't know for sure, but It's like, you know what? I'm just gonna pull them. So I pulled off the mantis protectors, put in these switches, played a test game, nailed those switches like hard a lot because I'm assuming that they're gonna bend all out of shape and bend to hell. But after the first game, they registered flawlessly every time on soft hits, on hard hits, and if you can see, they are not bent backwards yet. They may over time. I only played one game or two, but that is the current state of affairs with my lock switches. Dutch, you will be very happy. I don't know if you'll watch this video, but if you do, that's for you. He hates when he hits those and it doesn't register, and I don't blame him. They're supposed to. Pinball magic. Keep the tradition alive here and turn it on. Oh my god, no, it's not happening. It is happening again. Oh, my stage optos are acting up again. I just love that. Don't you just love that? There's two issues with this Pinball magic that I've had. One, very first day I bought the machine, those optos were going crazy. And two, the machine was resetting consistently. So obviously I gotta add the stage optos back onto the to-do list as of right now. I thought I had, like, I've rebuilt the whole friggin' wire harness. I think maybe it's time to buy brand new optos. I thought I might have used new old stock ones, so maybe that just ain't good enough. But, and there's like a switch board right around here in the back glass, that the back box that is responsible for all the switches. I managed to find a new old stock one in Australia, Spare Parts Australia Pinball, I think it's called. And so I can't really suspect the board. I mean, it is 30 years old, so it could be that, but I think if I can find just Williams style optos and install them on this, I'm gonna have to do that. But the rest of the wire harness is brand new wire, brand new connectors, brand new pins. So this was a lot of a video about stuff I was taking off the to-do list, not putting it on. And look what I'm also noticing. What is going on here? See all this like white dust looking stuff? There's like white flakes all over the place here. Where the hell did that come from? That's new. Usually when there's dirt on the playfield, it's black, not white. So, okay, I am going to add those things. I guess let's see down here a little bit too. Huh. Strange. Not down here though. Maybe a little bit right around here. Can you see that? Down here. Almost looks like flour. That is weird. What could that be? Anyway, I'll have to clean that up. And yeah, I'm gonna throw that on the list. 1 second. There we go. Pinball magic. Reset. Well, it did reset. Did it reset at the last tournament? I don't know if it did. It might have held up, but that's just on the radar. Clean the flour off the playfield, stage optos. There we go, Pinball magic. Okay, and then the last game, Nugent. Okay, so this game had crashed a couple times in, let's see, it crashed in the first tournament a couple times. I put it into my Funzy tournament a couple weeks ago, and it also crashed. And I was playing it against Ray and I forget who else, and Ray was getting a pretty high score on ball one, and I'm like, come on, crash! And I didn't even get the words out of my mouth. I was just thinking about saying it, and it happened right at that very moment. So Ray had to play another game, So what I found, I made a post for this on Pinball Repair Help Group, and I got lots of suggestions, what makes this machine crash. Could be flipper diodes, the coils, diodes on the coils. Could be connectors. It could be soundboard related. I disconnected the soundboard to see what would happen. Basically what was happening, or I'll even throw the meter on here since I got it out, is that the main thing I found that was an issue is this test point 1 here on the CPU measures the 5 volts, and mine was at like 4.5 or 4.6, and I knew that was just too low. But all my voltages were good over here. Like test point 1 and 3 on the solenoid driver are the 5 volts, and test point 3, see, they're the same, 5.14, and here's the CPU, 5.11. So we're only losing the tiniest little bit by the time it gets over there. So I was trying to tackle that. I was looking at a bunch of different things. Ultimately, and this was suggested on the Pinball Repair Help Group, so thank you for those who suggested it, is that there's a very important orange wire right here on the power supply. And I feel like I have, see this little piece of insulation there? I feel like I did that maybe. I feel like I hacked this wire together. It was like, I'll have to go back to my own restoration videos, but it kind of looked like there was a new pin on there, but I put a new one anyway. And then that same wire is right here on the solenoid driver. So I repin that as well. And lo and behold, that's what got my voltage back up to the 5 volts. And I think that resolved my issue. So very happy to discover that one. The other issue I was having for a couple months now is that the general illumination, and I don't even know if this is solved yet or not, but it kind of would just randomly dim and brighten. And you didn't even necessarily need to be playing it or banging on it. It would just kind of come and go. Bright, darker, bright, darker. I had to assume that it was connector related. And it almost looks like they're kind of dim, but maybe that's just me. They're probably normal. They are your kind of warm whites, which are maybe not as bright as natural white. Anyway, I had already repinned these 2 connectors, and these are for general illumination on the playfield, I believe. So I repinned this entire connector just to be safe, and that did nothing. So while I had this bottom connector out, there's some general illumination connectors that are wires as well, like this thick orange guy and this thick red guy, and then the 2 on the end. Oh my god, did the machine just brighten up on me? Did you see that? Did that just happen? Oh my god, it did. We're finding something. Why? What is happening? Okay, so the issue, oh, here it is. I can't tell for sure what wire this is yet, but one of these wires that I'm wiggling, and I better be careful else I'm going to electrocute myself, is causing the GI to go brighter and darker. So now, I guess I was right. It was not bright as it should have been. Now it is as bright as it should be. So I guess I haven't resolved that issue yet, but maybe I need to take off the power supply and reflow the headers. That could be it. So I'll mess with that a little bit and see if I can take that off the to-do list. But there is your long-winded what's been going on in the collection, fixes and problems and issues. And well, let's pan out and take a look at the aftermath here. Might have to go play a game of Mando before I get to work. See if I can fix xenon sound. Check out some tag team trough switches. All that kind of stuff. So, and eventually once the whole room is in shape, then it'll be time to bust out a new project. So hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Okay, a little quick bit of bonus footage on the general illumination here on Nugent. This is the wire that when I just moved it ever so slightly, the lights would come on and off. I moved it from pin 1 to pin 2 just to see if that made a difference, because they're both the same connection. It did not, so I've pulled the board off here, and these are the two pins in question. There's pin 1 and pin 2, and if you take a real close look, they don't really look too bad, but at least number 1 looks a little suspect. So I'm going to reflow the headers and maybe add some new solder. Well, not maybe, I will. And then put it all back together again. Probably add a little more thermal compound on this heatsink and see what happens. Okay, I made quite the mess here, just reflowing some header pins. I got flux, wire brush, strippers, soldering stuff, new heat sink, just everything going on here. But there's the new heat sink compound, and there's the newly reflowed headers. The fact that the two on the left are touching doesn't actually matter, but they are touching. Maybe it will make the connection a little bit beefier, so who knows. Time to reassemble and see what happens. Okay, so before, when I was wiggling this wire or the connector, the GI would flicker on and off. It doesn't appear to be doing that anymore. So I think I resolved that one, and I can check that one off the list. So that is pretty sweet.